Every year when the NHL Draft comes around, new stars are drafted into the league. Many of these future star players are taken early on in the first round. However, every draft has its fair share of diamonds in the rough. Later draft picks that end up far outperforming their original draft position. These players are steals. And today, we're going to look at my top 10 steals of the 2010 NHL Draft. Let's go. Hey everybody, so today we're going to be taking a look back on the 2010 NHL Draft and talk about who I think are the top 10 steals from that 2010 draft. These are players that have ended up far outperforming their draft position, players that have turned into stars and exceeded expectations vastly compared to the spot that they were drafted in and what was expected of them at the time. If you guys like videos like this and like this content, please let me know because I want to keep doing videos like this. So if you guys like this, be sure to please let me know. But let's take a look back on 2010. And these are not ranked on the best players that are steals and ranking how they are as players. It's the value of the pick, in my opinion. Which ones are the biggest steals that were drafted way later and it ended up having very solid NHL careers. But without further ado, let's get into it here. Starting at number 10, we have Radko Gudas, a right shot defenseman who was originally drafted in the third round, 66th overall by the Tampa Bay Lightning. He now plays for the Florida Panthers. And he's gone on to play over 600 games in his NHL career, 610 to be exact. He's scored 31 goals, 116 assists for 147 points and a plus 59 rating. He's a very physical, stay-at-home defenseman and has put together a very, very solid career as about a number 5 type guy in the lineup. But for a guy that was drafted in the third round, which is a round where probably less than half of the players that get drafted there actually even play NHL games. For him to play over 600 games, have a career as long as he has had that is still going strong, and to have become a very solid staple as a defensive defenseman in the NHL, that's definitely a steal in my book. He certainly has become one of the better D-men out of this draft class. And certainly turned out to be a very good pick. Now, he didn't play a lot with Tampa. He's played for a number of different teams, but he's always been a very serviceable defensive defenseman everywhere that he's gone, and that's why he is still in the NHL all these years later, and he's played over 600 games. At number 9, we have Jesper Fast, right winger, that was originally taken in the 6th round, 157th overall by the New York Rangers. He now plays for the Carolina Hurricanes, and he has put together a very, very solid NHL career as about third-line level forward. He's played 550 games, scoring 75 goals, 125 assists for 200 career points and a plus 32 rating. Most 6th-round draft picks never play an NHL game. The fact that Jesper Fast has played over 500 of them already makes him a steal just in that. Not to mention he has 200 career points and has turned himself into a very solid third-line player for the Carolina Hurricanes. He was also that with the New York Rangers before leaving for Carolina. But he's just built himself into a very solid depth player that can chip in offensively, play well defensively, and is just one of those guys that is now a veteran in the league and is a guy that's very well liked in the locker room and brings a lot to the table from a depth position as a secondary scorer. Very, very good for a 6th rounder. Moving on now. Number 8, we have Justin Falk, right shot defenseman, originally drafted in the 2nd round, 37th overall by the Carolina Hurricanes. He now plays for the St. Louis Blues He's put together a very, very good NHL career. He is without a doubt one of the best defensemen, if not the best defenseman to come out of this 2010 draft. And he's played over 700 NHL games, 760 games played, 113 goals, 233 assists, 346 career points, and a -51 rating. He's been a top 4 D-man for really his entire career and has obviously been a huge piece of the puzzle for a long time in Carolina and now with the St. Louis Blues. He's one of the best players to come out of this draft that is a steal, no doubt. However, he's not higher on the list because he was taken in the second round. You know, if he was a 5th rounder or a 6th rounder, he would be right up near at the top of this list. But he was taken in the second round, so, you know, he was a fairly high pick. But looking back on this draft, there is absolutely no doubt that Justin Faulk should have been taken in the first round, which makes him a steal because he was a round later than he should have been. And honestly, you could make the argument that he is the best defenseman to come out of this 2010 draft. And I think him, Cam Fowler, John Klingberg, those are guys that kind of jump out to me. You know, he's right up there at the, you know, certainly one of the 3 best D-men to come out of this draft. So, second rounder that should have been a first, absolutely a steal, and a great career that still has a lot of time left for Justin Faulk. Number 7, Bryan Rust, right winger, drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 3rd round, 80th overall, and he has gone on now to play 424 NHL games, scoring 124 goals, 146 assists, 270 career points, and a +52 rating. His last couple of years with Pittsburgh have been the best of his career offensively. This is a guy that broke into the league. It's kind of a defensive-minded forward, a penalty killer, a guy that didn't have huge expectations offensively, but he has broken out in the offensive side of things and has become a very important top 6 forward for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not too shabby for a guy taken in the 3rd round, 80th overall. And for him to go on and play now over 400 games and have almost 300 career points with still a lot of great NHL seasons left in him, Bryan Rust is a great steal from this draft. And he continues to be one of the most underrated forwards currently in the NHL. Moving on now to number 6, we have Tyler Toffoli, right winger, originally drafted in the 2nd round, 47th overall by the Los Angeles Kings. Now, Tyler Toffoli was taken in the 2nd round. He would be higher on this list if he was taken later. But being a 2nd round pick, I didn't want to put him as too big of a steal. But man, he has turned out to be one heck of a player. Absolutely should have gone in the 1st round. His career point total is better than all but 8 players that were taken in the 1st round of this 2010 draft. So honestly, Toffoli should have been a top 10 pick based on how his career has turned out. He has become a phenomenal scorer in the NHL, playing over 650 games, 651 to be exact, 193 goals, 200 assists for 393 career points and a +77 rating. Stanley Cup winner with the Kings. He now plays with the Calgary Flames, was traded last year from Montreal to Calgary, and he is one of the best players to come out of this draft. He went in the 2nd round, absolutely should have been in the 1st. And a great steal here for LA for a guy now that is going to hit 400 career points next season and still has a lot of great hockey in him as well. He is number 6 on the list. At number 5, we have right shot D-man John Klingberg, who was drafted by the Dallas Stars in the 5th round, 131st overall. Now, again, I have Klingberg higher on the steals list than ahead of Justin Faulk because they have pretty similar numbers. But Klingberg was a 5th round pick, whereas Faulk was a 2nd. So I had to put Klingberg ahead of him from the steal value standpoint. 552 career games for Klingberg, 71 goals, 303 career assists, 374 points, and a -8 rating. Now, he played last year with Dallas, the team that drafted him, although it does look like that was his final season with Dallas. He's an unrestricted free agent this offseason. So when free agency opens on July 13th, Klingberg will be free to sign with any team. And he spent his entire career up to this point with the Stars, the team that drafted him. It looks like that is going to change come next season, but a heck of a career, and another guy that is pushing towards 400 career points from this 2010 draft class. Next up, number 4 from the Montreal Canadiens, we have right wing Brendan Gallagher. 5th round pick, 147th overall by Montreal back in 2010. He has gone on to become a huge leader on the team, a huge goal scorer for the Canadiens, and a very gritty, forward, high energy, high motor type guy as well that his teammates love. 638 games played, 194 goals, 187 assists for 381 career points and a +61 rating. Injuries have taken their toll over the last few years on Gallagher, but if he's a guy that can get himself healthy again, he can continue to be a very important goal scorer and very important point producer for the Montreal Canadiens. He's a huge leader in their locker room. He wears a letter on his jersey. Some thought he might end up being the captain of the Canadiens. We'll see if that happens in the future or not. But one heck of a career for a guy taken in the 5th round who now is almost at 400 career points and will probably hit that milestone next season. It's been a fantastic career so far for Brendan Gallagher. At number 3, we have left winger Zach Hyman, who was drafted by the Florida Panthers in the 5th round, 123rd overall back in 2010. And a lot of people forget that Zach Hyman was originally a Florida Panthers draft pick because he never played a game for Florida. He never ended up coming to a contract agreement with the Panthers and ended up signing with Toronto after playing his college career at the University of Michigan. And just ended up becoming a signing or his rights were traded to Toronto, and then he immediately signed with the Maple Leafs, had a great start to his career with Toronto, and then last offseason signed with the Edmonton Oilers in free agency, where he currently still plays for Edmonton. He's played 421 games in his career, scoring 113 goals, 126 assists for 239 career points and a +63 rating. He's had a heck of an NHL career so far. He's still got many good years left in him, and he continues to be a very important goal scorer in the top 6, now for the Edmonton Oilers, originally for Toronto, but now with Edmonton, and a big piece of their top 6 forward group. And for a guy that, again, taken in the 5th round, he has turned into one heck of a player and a huge steal coming out of this draft. So finally, that brings us now to number 2 and number 1. And these guys, there's no doubt about it. Number 2, we have goaltender Frederik Andersen, who was originally drafted in the last round, all the way down in the 7th round by the Carolina Hurricanes in 2010, 187th overall in this draft. And he has gone on to become an extremely solid NHL goaltender. Above average, certainly an above average goaltender. At some points has certainly been a top 10 goalie in the league, including this past season. 445 games played in his career, 261 wins, 114 losses, and 51 OT losses. A career save percentage of .916, which is very solid, and a career goals against just over 2.5 at 2.59. Awesome numbers for a 7th round draft pick. And it's funny, he's now back with the Carolina Hurricanes, which is the team that originally drafted him. However, that's not where he started in the NHL. He played in Anaheim, he played in Toronto, and then he finds himself now back in Carolina, where he was originally drafted, and had a phenomenal season for them in his first year back with the Canes last season. So Freddie Andersen has become a top 10 goalie in the NHL, and he was a 7th-round draft pick, a massive, massive steal for the Hurricanes here with that draft selection. But he's not number one. And that's because number one belongs to Mark Stone, right winger, originally taken by the Ottawa Senators in the 6th round, 178th overall, and he has gone on to become a star player in the NHL. He is now the captain of the Vegas Golden Knights and has had multiple 60-plus point seasons in his NHL career. Just phenomenal offensive output. Mark Stone has turned into a legitimate star player in the league. And this was a guy taken all the way down at 178th overall. 541 games played, 179 career goals, 297 assists, 476 points, and a plus 107 rating. He also happens to be one of the best defensive forwards, especially among wingers, currently in the NHL. And has actually been in contention for the Selke Trophy as a right wing, which you don't see wingers contending for that trophy very often. So phenomenal two-way player, huge leader in the locker room, captain of the Golden Knights now, and phenomenal offensive output as well. He should hit 500 career points this coming season. Unfortunately, last year was marred by injuries. He wasn't able to play a whole lot, and his production was significantly decreased because of injuries. But if Mark Stone can get healthy again, and I certainly hope that he does, he will continue to be a star player for the Vegas Golden Knights and a very important part of that team. And as a 6th-round draft pick, he, in my opinion, is the biggest steal in this 2010 NHL draft. So there you have it, everybody. Those are my top 10 steals from the 2010 NHL draft. Please let me know what you guys think down in the description. What order would you have these guys in? Who did I miss? Who's not on this list that you think should be? But nonetheless, all of these guys were taken in draft positions far lower than they should have been based on how their careers have turned out to this point. And obviously some very, very good players on this list. And it goes to show you, not every star player is taken in the first round. Just like not every first rounder becomes a good NHL player, sometimes there are really, really good NHL players who get taken a lot later. Particularly in this draft, I noticed the 5th round of this 2010 draft produced quite a few very high-end NHL talents. And, you don't see that every year. You don't see that all the time. There's steals in every draft, but for the 5th round, particularly that late, to produce as many good players as this one did, it's just an interesting thing, and you don't see it very often. But no doubt about it, these guys were all huge steals at their draft position and have put together phenomenal NHL careers. So again, with that, please let me know if you guys like this kind of content so I can do more of it. There are plenty of other drafts we can do this same thing for and take a look at who ended up being big steals from that particular year. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description of the video. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our merchandise store, membership, and donations are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all soon.